Well, the Oilers rookies are riding the tide here in Penticton as the Young Stars Classic continues. Tony Brar here alongside Director of Amateur Scouting and Player Personnel, Tyler Wright. Tyler, thanks so much for doing this. I'm sure you guys are pleased with the effort and the results so far on the ice. Just want to get your general first impressions of the product on the ice so far.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously we're here to evaluate our prospects and our guys, but as well as other teams, but also put a little bit of an emphasis on winning. We're trying to create a winning culture, and we've got off to a good start. We've changed goalies. We've put, change lineups every game. So, yeah, we're pleased as we are right now, 2-0 going into the next game. So, a lot to be happy about.
We talked about two goaltenders. Let's maybe start with the men in the masked cage, Ryan Fanti and Olivier Rodrigue. Rodrigue was very honest a couple of days ago about his last couple of years. He admits it's been tough. He's been battling injuries, got sent down to the ECHL last year when Stuart Skinner came down to Bakersfield. And then Ryan Fanti, the decision for the organization in trusting a college goaltender entering the system.
Well, I think, it's no surprise our goaltending situation over the last couple of years. Obviously, we got basically two new goaltenders up top this year with the signing of Jack Campbell and Stu Skinner making the jump to trying to solidify himself as a number two guy. With the departures of Mike Smith going into retirement and Koski, giving us some good years. We've got some young guys that Konovalov went back to the KHL, and obviously with Olivier, kind of bouncing up and back between the ECHL and the AHL, signing Calvin Pickard. We thought we needed some more depth and try to develop another young goaltender. I don't think you can ever have enough goalies, and he had an outstanding year last year at the Minnesota Duluth, and now it's just all about trying to develop another guy and see who can grab the reins.
From the men in the blue paint to the men that are finding themselves on the score sheet often this weekend, that of course, let's start with the top line of Dylan Holloway, James Hamlin, and Xavier Bourgault. Maybe beginning with Holloway, he's probably the one forward here that has the best shot to crack the NHL roster come main camp. What have you seen from 55?
Yeah, obviously, a lot of anticipation for Dylan's gone through a little bit of adversity, since turning pro with the injury and having a little bit of a setback last year, missing training camp, missing the first half of the year, getting back into Bakersfield probably around the beginning of February. And, I wouldn't say he was 100% healthy at the time. I really couldn't do a lot more damage to it. So it was just basically working through the wrist injury, and then obviously getting called up for the playoffs, getting into the game in the conference final. Seeing a little bit of limited ice time, but at the end of the day, it's about developing, and it's about steps, and it's our job to kind of see where everybody is in their development process and where they are at, and making sure that we take our time and give them all the resources possible. And if it takes a guy a little bit longer to develop, that's what we have to live with. Our job and our responsibility is to bring the next wave of kids. I shouldn't say kids, young men that are turning pro, been down in the American Hockey League playing a year or two. We think we've got a lot of good players and a lot of good prospects that are going to create a lot of competition, and that's what we're trying to strive for as an organization. It's competition, and you've got to go in there and you've got to earn it.
What kind of a player do the Oilers have in a guy like James Hamlin?
It's an interesting guy, and I go in and I talk to all these guys that there's no right path. This is an undrafted player signing an American Hockey League contract to start. I was talking to him, and I said 2 or 3 years ago, I remember being on the plane in Winnipeg, and you took warm up and you didn't get in the exhibition game, but you were there and you were ecstatic, and we talked about taking the next step, and he's done that, and he's earned himself an NHL contract. Now he finds himself playing between 2 first-round picks and having some success. So, like I said, there's no right path. We're trying to develop players, and it's sexy that a guy's a first-round pick and all this and that, but the end of the day, it's a competition, and we want competitive players that are willing to buy into the program and push guys that are solidified NHL players to be better.
And Colin Chalk always calls him Mr. Do It Right. Seems like he has all the little things down, and that's probably a big reason why he's wearing the C this weekend in Penticton. You talked about the 2 first-round picks that he's playing alongside. We talked about Holloway. How about Xavier Bourgault?
Yeah, another interesting guy that we're, excited to see. He was obviously a first-round pick during a pandemic. Comes in last year as his first training camp. And you want to see progression from training camp to training camp. And I thought he was fine last year, but it's a learning experience. You get your feet wet a little bit. He's taken that step this year. He's going to turn pro. Where he ends up is really, to be determined for this point. But extremely happy with the development process that. He went back to junior last year. We talked about working on some things, getting into the gym. He bypassed the World Juniors this year because his team went to the Memorial Cup, rest. And, we did things a little bit different this year. We left Broberg at home. We left Holloway at home. Their development camp was our playoff run. But, put an emphasis on getting into the gym and getting stronger and getting ready to come here and compete for a job.
One final player focus, and that is the man you just mentioned, Philip Broberg. He got stronger this offseason, put on 12 pounds of muscle, looks visibly bigger on the ice. It seems to be fueling his confidence. Where do you think he's at in his development, and how ready is he to push for an NHL spot?
Yeah, I think these exhibition games and that will really determine whether he's ready or not. And I think the biggest thing for us in development, it's not about making the NHL and being the 7th defenseman and sitting out. It's about playing in the NHL and playing regularly and playing meaningful minutes. Or if you're not, then let's make sure you go back to the American Hockey League and play a lot and be an important person. He went down to the American Hockey League last year. We talked about, the ability to defend and to get stronger, to join the rush, maybe not lead the rush as much. And he's done it. And, he went back home. He put a lot of time into the gym. He got physically stronger. He's going to get every opportunity to make the club, but he still has to go out there and earn it.
We know it's a big weekend for the prospects. It's a big weekend for the fans. It's the preseason, the unofficial start to the NHL season. But for you personally, what's it like to see the fruits of your labor kind of come to fruition beginning with the tournament here?
Yeah, it's, you don't want to put a lot of expectations, but deep down inside you do. We've got all our first round picks here in the last little bit, which I think has been a tremendous job by Ken and our staff. It's really important for us. We went to the conference final last year. We think that we've upgraded our team this year and retaining guys like, Evander Kane and, Brett Kulak and, hopefully the internal growth with guys like Bouchard and McLeod and these type guys. And then it's the Holloways, it's the Brobergs, it's the Bourgauts, it's that next wave. And it's the same thing with a guy like Schaefer. It's about coming in here and learning about what it is and how hard it is. These aren't easy games to play in. So really excited with the group that, the work that we have done with our amateur staff and our pro staff, bringing free agents in and giving guys a look on the amateur side and the pro guys coming in. And it's trying to be creative and find different ways to find different players. A lot of times, we sat around this year, we didn't have a second, a third, and a fourth. How are we going to find different players? Signing a guy like Philp at the CIS, bringing American League guys in. We got to get creative and find players. And we got to give them those resources, and we've got to make them players. And that's what we're trying to do. We're excited about training camp. We're excited about the team. But it's a good competition, and I think that's good for organization.
Obviously, it's a long-term picture, but in the short term, so far, so good. The Oilers are perfect 2-0 this weekend in Penticton. You can watch Game 3 on EdmontonOilers.com as they take on the host Vancouver Canucks. Tyler, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Tony.